I am so excited to be here. I can't stand it. And it's not just because I got to buy new clothes as part of the research for my thesis, which I did. No, the words on the screen here really speak to what's been on my mind for a really long time. And the reason I'm so excited is because I really think that the issue of fast fashion and cheap fashion, we're going to solve this. There is really a way out. Now, all of us have heard the stories of how cheap clothes cost a lot. They really just destroy the environment. We know about the human cost. We're all aware of that. And yet, American consumers, well, we're still behaving pretty much the same way. And because I know that we know how costly it is to get cheap clothes here for us to buy, I couldn't get that math to square in my head. I couldn't figure out how is it that something that costs so much could end up being worth so little. And yes, we still get messages from Madison Avenue that tells us, we need to look beautiful, we need to look stylish. Just replace that old thing and get something else. A lot of really smart people said to me, it's going to be really tough to get people to change their ways, Stephen, and they're right, but I'm still hopeful. Tonight, I'm not going to share with you a lot of what you've already seen, all of the human toll that fashion takes in all the countries where people make our clothing. And I really think that discussion has been thoroughly vetted. But I'm hopeful because of a tragedy that happened long ago. Downtown, there was a building at Green and Washington Streets, and 100 years ago, a lot of young women lost their lives. They were locked in a sweatshop. And so we are not strangers to problems with fashion. But the reason I'm hopeful is because when that happened, we changed. We changed the way we treat workers. We actually started thinking about their safety. So why were we able to do it then, but we can't seem to figure it out now? I really think that the secret is it was here. The problem was local, and so we did something about it. Right around the corner from this theater, I've been walking by this display for 2 years now. And I know that we as American consumers are smart. And yet somehow we've been duped, we've been scammed into believing that we get something for nothing. Again, I wasn't a math major, but I know this just doesn't add up. Now, one thing that also gives me hope and optimism is the fact that we've already figured out how to change our ways in how we consume food. Think about how many of us know so much more about food than we used to. The slow food movement, 40 years in the making, has really transformed the culinary landscape and the way we go shopping. When I think about one of this movement's founders and I see her words, they really resonate with me because it's not just about food. Things shouldn't be too cheap, any of the things that we consume. I believe that change is going to happen, and it's going to happen with us. It's consumers, not the retailers, not the factories. We're going to make this change. A lot of my research centered around consumers. I wanted to get in their heads and kind of figure out, what do they think about what they're doing? And with the surveys and the focus groups, something really interesting appeared in my research, which is that we actually, as a country, don't know anything about clothing. We know where to find it, we know where the deals are, but if you ask people, well, what's really well made, they can't answer the question. And I think that's actually a huge part of the problem. So what am I going to do? I've got to expand the slow clothes movement. Now, slow clothes, many of you may have heard the term. It's a very young and budding movement. But we don't have 40 years to wait like we did with food. We have got to get this movement off the ground and get it to take off fast. And I found a way to do that. I have found a way to get consumers back in touch with people who actually know something about clothing. So I decided, okay, I've got to find the people who remain locally who actually make clothing. So I and my friend Kate Russick, we set off. We went out into the city and on a scavenger hunt. And you know what? We found it. We found people in New York, not only that design, but make clothing. But it wasn't easy. It was tough. And strangely, a lot of the clothes that are made here don't even say so. They say made in USA, which is a minimum requirement that the government has. So if we need to change how we consume, how in the heck are we going to do it? You know, if it's this hard for a grad student, how will the average consumer ever be convinced to change their ways? Well, how is the key question. And so this is what I'm doing about it. I've created a resource where people can actually find out how to take the action that I'm asking them to take. When you go to the website, you'll see over 60 stores in New York that sell clothing actually made here. The other part of this project is to help retailers, like In God We Trust, actually let consumers know what they've got. Most stores in New York that sell locally made clothes, they don't tell you on the outside, so you have no way of knowing unless you go in to investigate. Now, I mentioned that most of us don't know anything about quality, about clothing. One of the key parts of this resource and project is the designers. I've got a number of designers who have partnered with me, and they're linking their videos to my website, and they are amazing. They talk to you not only about their approach to design, but why they have things made locally, why it's important, and why one shirt should cost more. Why one shirt is made beautifully and one is made not so. So where will I go forward? You know, this is great. This is New York. And obviously, the solution is going to be on the ground locally. But this is a national problem. We have a national addiction to cheap clothes. And so this needs to expand geographically, okay? This way, LA and New York can have something in common for a change. And again, it can go into any community, not just large cities. One other thing that will help facilitate this is the fact that people love looking at magazines and they love watching the editor's picks. One thing we plan on doing is going out and actually helping to not just put stores on a map, but actually help people see the products that are being made in their own communities by these wonderful artisans. So we often talk about problems. This problem's been talked about a lot. I've been doing a lot of the talking. But I tell you what, there is a way to get out of this. And there's something every one of us can do to help solve it. Ironically, I actually think we should go shopping. This has actually been part of the problem, and it's going to be part of the solution. But now, when you go shopping for clothes, if you need them or just want them, do so. But do it with a new mindset and a new consideration, and then go local. And we already know how to do that. We do this with food. If we can do this with apples and chicken eggs, we can do it with clothing. Thank you.